ahead on 12 News.
What is more Midwestern than good old-fashioned bacon?
New fair foods with a Northwest Metro connection. But first, two police-related stories. In Brooklyn Center, police investigate a homicide, while in Brooklyn Park, the city must look for a new police chief. 12 News starts right now. Brooklyn Park will soon be on the hunt for a new police chief.
Chief Mike Davis has announced his resignation. He is leaving to lead the public safety department at Northeastern University, a private school based in Boston. In Brooklyn Park, he's worked on community policing and getting a handle on juvenile crime.
I'm Michael Davis.
When Mike Davis took the oath of office as police chief in 2008, Brooklyn Park had just gotten the results of a study that pointed to a problem with youth crime.
We understood there was a lot of youth-on-youth crime. And so as a result of that, the city council focused on youth and trying to find more productive things for them to do. And Mike Davis was right there.
Councilmember Mike Trepanier says Davis embraced the idea of community engagement, where officers reach out to neighborhoods and kids through efforts like the Zanewood Recreation Center.
The PERF report told us what we already knew, because I've been here for 18 years as a resident, is that kids not engaged will find things to engage themselves in. And so do we want to have a hand in guiding that, or do we not? You know, and that was the fundamental question that we answered with an emphatic yes.
Since Davis took the job, the city has built a second police station in the middle of a problem area on Brooklyn Boulevard. His department also added 10% more officers who were told their job is more than ever about community building as well as enforcing the law.
It's the way in which patrol officers do the work. You know, they get out of their cars and interact with people. They don't wait for a 911 call or only on an investigatory or enforcement stop. They're out there making contact with folks offline, I call it.
The efforts seem to be paying off. Last year, crime dropped 20% from its level in 2007.
We're the 6th largest city in Minnesota, and we're going to be the 4th. So there's going to be crime. The deal is really how people feel in their home, and that's based on the efforts of the police and everybody.
And outgoing Chief Davis says the next challenge is keeping up with continued growth and change.
An effective police department grows along with that and almost becomes to a point where they're predictive. You know, you can see, you know, the next issue on the horizon, and you're already constructing a plan to deal with that.
Davis says leaving was as much a personal decision as it was professional.
It was a very hard decision. Because as I said before, I believe I had the best job in the world, because I had an opportunity as first a resident of this city to really influence and make changes for the better.
Davis will start the new job on November 1st, and city manager says he will consult with the council about a replacement process.
And here's what we know about the new job Mike Davis is headed to. Davis will oversee public safety at Northeastern, a private university in Boston with a total enrollment of about 21,000 students. He will also oversee public safety at the university's satellite campuses in Charlotte, North Carolina, and in Seattle. Davis has experience in the area. He spent several years taking part in Harvard University's executive session on policing and public safety. And Davis's departure isn't the only one in the city. Another department head is also leaving. Community Development Director Jason Arsvold will leave his post next month. Arsvold resigned to take a position with the Twin Cities financial consulting firm. Arsvold led Brooklyn Park's development department since early 2012. He's worked for the city for 14 years. Brooklyn Park must also find a permanent replacement for its longtime operations and maintenance director. John Thiel retired last year after 22 years on the job. Brooklyn Center Police, meanwhile, is investigating an early morning homicide.
A man was found shot to death at 3:30 a.m. at the Super 8 Motel on James Circle North. Reporter Eric Nelson spoke with police today and has the latest on the investigation.
Mike and Shannon, Brooklyn Center Police, are in the early stages of gathering information in this shooting. They do know the victim is an unidentified adult black male, and they say there is no suspect at this time. However, police have talked to potential witnesses as they try to piece together the case. Police learned the victim was pounding on the hotel lobby door before he collapsed. Authorities tried CPR when they found him, but he died on the scene.
We believe that the victim and the suspect were possibly known to each other, so we don't believe there's a general alert to the public We think that there might have been an altercation happen beforehand, maybe in one of the rooms of the hotels, but we don't know that for sure. So that's what our investigation will probably bear out for us.
Brooklyn Center Police are also working with the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office and the Crime Lab in this case. Mike and Shannon, this is the first homicide in Brooklyn Center in almost 2 years.
All right, thank you. Eric Nelson reporting. First Student Bus Company is scrambling to find more drivers before the start of school. The company says it has less than a week to hire more than 100 drivers in the metro. Recently, First Student added 50 more routes to the Osseo School District, and the company also added St. Paul schools to its routes. But First Student says it will be ready by the time school starts.
We'll be ready one way or the other, either through having enough drivers hired or poor souls like me that have to go out and drive them. Usually we're pretty good, but this year it's going to come right down to the line.
The company says the improving economy is to blame for the shortage. During the recession, First Student says it hired a lot of laid-off workers, and now some of those employees have left for other jobs.
The Crystal City Council this week gave final approval to an ordinance allowing chickens. The ordinance would allow up to 4 chickens on residential properties. Under the final version approved, chickens must be kept in a coop at least 5 feet from a neighbor's property line. An earlier version required 10 feet. In the 5-2 vote, no permit is required in Crystal to keep chickens. Neighboring cities like Golden Valley and Robbinsdale do require permits. Still ahead, 2 state fair food favorites, bacon and pie.
Both have a very tasty local connection. Then later in sports, Maple Grove's girls soccer team takes aim at repeating as conference champs.
But first, it's your AccuWeather forecast.
Well, 48 new foods are making their debut at the Minnesota State Fair this year.
2 foods on the list have connections to the Northwest Metro, and people were lined up to try them out.
Another one for you, candied bacon.
This is like a breakfast item. It's our first stop.
Alrighty.
Combining cream and crunch.
Okay.
Then add bacon.
Because I like bacon, and we like cannoli.
And you have one of the new foods at this year's State Fair.
There is a lot of love in that bacon.
Candied bacon cannoli.
Oh, that's a good one.
Pam Olson, who grew up in Brooklyn Park, and her daughter Marta,
Candied bacon takes bacon to a new level of crazy deliciousness.
opened Oli's Cannoli in Heritage Square last year.
Cannoli are Italian. We're not Italian. We were like, how do we put a Minnesota flavor into this Italian thing? And what is more Midwestern than good old-fashioned bacon?
Each cannoli is piped fresh to order with bacon inside. But first, more than 200 pounds of bacon had to be candied, one at a time.
She had to, each piece of bacon had to be, tested, touched, moved, flipped 10 times. So the amount of love that is baked into that bacon is ridiculous.
Even successful booths like this one have an incentive to add a new item to the menu.
The number one question that we get asked anywhere when we tell people we work at the State Fair is, what are the new foods for this year?
So vendors can collaborate with the State Fair to get a dish on the new food list.
It's really important to kind of change up the menu because you have that group of loyalists, but you're going to want to keep new people returning to the booth and introduce new generations and new fairgoers to your product.
Hope you love the pumpkin.
The idea of deep-fried pumpkin pies.
It's really good. I like it better than the apple.
There's a filling, all made from scratch.
It's pumpkinlicious.
Actually came from customers back around Thanksgiving.
This is one that people did request around Thanksgiving time, so that was kind of the most important thing for us, is keeping our customers happy, and we've got the best of them.
It got the State Fair stamp of approval.
It's absolutely Thanksgiving in the summer.
And on opening day,
It's delicious.
fairgoer approval too.
They're coming back, giving us the thumbs up, thanking us, which is a good feeling.
It really is. Now, if you'd rather steer clear of the sweets, new savory foods include deep-fried olives, lobster mac and cheese, or double bacon corn dog. I think anytime you put bacon with anything, you can't go wrong out there.
The cannoli was interesting. With
Yeah,
that
it
too.
really
Yeah.
was. And to do each one of those by hand, that was a huge undertaking. Coming up, gardening that the kids will enjoy.
We'll show you some unique gardens at the fair that'll involve Dr. Seuss. But first in sports, we check in with the Osseo Orioles in today's training camp report. Jay Wilcox says that and more next. Jay Wilcox with sports. Every year is a little bit different, I guess, for soccer coaches. You know, kids graduate and you have a whole new team, so how do you handle it, right?
Yeah, it's not a lot of margin for error in that sport either because goals are so hard to come by. Right. So, you know, there's a little bit of difference each year. The Northwest Suburban Conference figures to be pretty wide open for girls soccer this fall. Maple Grove is aiming to be a top team again. The Crimson, though, have a young team, but a lot of the girls do have some varsity experience. Graduation did claim most of Maple Grove's top offensive players from last year's conference title team, so the Crimson will likely play a different style this season.
We know that with our abilities and that we're going to have to possess the ball a little bit more. We're going to have to take better chances. It's not going to be as run and gun as we were last year. But we feel that the strength of this team is to defend well and to hold on to the ball and find some good chances and put things away when we can.
This year we really have to focus on possession and working as a team to get the goal. We can't just let one person go out and try to get all the goals for us. But it's a lot more of a team dynamic all the way up and down the field.
Maple Grove was 13-3-1 last year and the #1 seed in the Section 5 AA tournament, but they were upset by Osseo in the first round. Preseason practice isn't what it used to be for high school football teams. Most players train hard in the offseason now and come to camp ready to go, and that's certainly the case for the Osseo Orioles. Here's Jason Malillo with today's training camp report.
Osseo wants to charge out of the gate this season, and they'll need to. The Orioles' first 3 games are 2 road tilts against conference opponents and a Week 2 matchup with Minnetonka.
We got to beat top teams to be top in the state, so we're great. We love the schedule that we got, especially like Minnetonka. We usually don't play them out of conference game. That's just great for us. We like to learn from bigger teams.
Osseo was a ground attack team last year, taking advantage of the services of Mr. Football Bridge Tussler. But the Orioles are traditionally a passing team, and head coach Darren Lampker is hoping to rekindle his Air Orioles offense this fall.
Matt Medke, our starting quarterback right now, has just done a great job this summer. And he's kind of back to the way I like to play, throwing the ball around a little Air Orioles. So you're going to see us throw it around the yard a little bit this year more. And, you know, we're also, you run the football. When you win games, you run the football. And that's going to be our focal point early on. But I think we'll have the option this year to be able to throw it when we need to.
Senior center Joel Jacobs will be counted on to lead the offensive line and give Medke time in the pocket. On defense, the Orioles have some good athletes and want to build on what last year's group started.
They set the tone last year. Us being as juniors last year for the seniors now, we learned really great from them. We had a great leader like Rakeem, great leader like Troy Cray, and especially Bridge Tussler going both ways. So we just learned a lot from them and hope to follow their footsteps.
Every day we do like literally defense drills, pursuit drills, like our defense, like we got big shoes to fill. But like this year, like we actually have some really good athletes. Yeah, defense last year, them guys was just amazing, but we feel like we could do better this year.
Last season, Osseo won 7 of its 8 regular season games, but an administrative error forced 2 of those victories to be forfeited. The players say that's history now, and their focus is solely on 2013. Jason Malillo, 12 Sports.
Osseo brings back a total of 8 starters, 5 on offense, 3 on defense this year. The Orioles lost to Eden Prairie in the second round of the playoffs last season, finishing with an official record of 6-4. Osseo's first game is August 29th at Centennial, and Friday we'll have a look at Maple Grove. Trying to catch a lot of fish on your favorite lake might just require a little homework on your part. Terry Tuma explains in this week's Channel 12 fishing tip.
A very common question that is asked is, where should I fish on my lake to catch whatever species it is? It's almost impossible to answer that question without physically being on the lake. And what we have to understand as anglers is take a look at that body of water, the clarity of the water. How about the depth of the water? Where are the weeds? What type of structure? What kind of bottom? How about what kind of food sources? And I think the most important question, if you're going to be pursuing crappie, you're going to be pursuing walleyes, what kind of population is in that body of water that you're pursuing? So often when I have that question asked, and are there a lot of walleyes in the lake or a lot of crappies? They say, well, they're supposed to be, or I'm not real sure. And what we have to understand that every lake is different according to calendar periods or the time of the year. Just to say, well, you want to go fish the weed edge for this species, or you want to fish this rock pile for this species, many times doesn't hold true. Water temperature is a big factor. The weather conditions, fishing pressure. So in other words, every lake is different as far as catching fish. I think today, for instance this year, look at the high water levels we had. Look at the colder spring we've had versus water temperatures right now. So there's a lot of ingredients here that alter all these pinpointed general locations, if you will. So just go out on that body of water, look at it, study it. You know some of the spots already, check those out, and look for something new. You are going to catch fish if you do that correctly, and always practice versatility. Be sure to tune in next week for the final tip right here on Channel 12.
Thanks, Terry. And as he said, no one-size-fits-all answer for every lake. You're going to study it up a little bit.
Practice makes perfect. If you get out there a lot, you'll know where they are.
That's right.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. Well, still ahead, flowers at the fair that are also fun for the kids.
It's gardening inspired by Dr. Seuss when we come back. The Minnesota Florist Association is doing something different this year at the Minnesota State Fair.
For the first time, all participants are displaying gardens using a common theme. And Sonia Goins goes in the garden now to show us how we can create something similar at home.
We've really done something new this year with our partners in the Minnesota Floral Association. Everybody chose a common theme, and it's around Seuss.
They call it Dr. Seuss Floral Palooza.
Cool how it's made out of different types of plants.
It's this super colorful, fanciful world.
These 7 gardens mimic Dr. Seuss children's books. Each display is 28 feet long and 18 feet wide.
I like that it's a bunch of different colors and it's really creative.
While the plots are small, they're getting a big reaction from fairgoers.
It just kind of captures the spirit of the Lorax, I think.
Bachman's chose the Lorax.
I think the story just really spoke to us.
It's a great message. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better.
The Lorax is all about nature and the fact that we're all connected. And when you watch the movie, that's really what you learn.
The Lorax is made of carved foam and covered in moss.
We've had 6 people working on this since July.
While this is a pretty elaborate setup,
This is a brand new plant. It is just coming into our stores today. It's actually an aloe vera plant, but we've painted them with all sorts of fun colors.
Sarah says gardeners can make a scaled-down version at home by using everyday plants and flowers.
I think everybody's going to be excited about this one.
She says the key is to use different textures.
These are fresh carnations. We've got an array of different ferns, some fresh blooming plants, some celosia that you could plant in the garden, and some grasses.
For In the Garden, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
Bachman's also uses recyclable materials in their display. Gardeners can do the same thing at home, of course, to save money and help the environment as well. And, I think that would take some time. I didn't hear how long those things take to do.
Yeah, but painting aloe vera bright blue, wouldn't that look cool in your garden at home?
That would look interesting. I wonder, would it stay for a while?
Yeah, I don't know. But it would definitely cause a few heads to turn, I think.
Yeah. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Community Corner's coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow.